So welcome again, everyone, to Unit Masters Speaker Session. Today we have with us Dr. Adel Elmessiry, who was born into an academic family in Alexandria and has been on a lifelong journey of innovation and career success. Now, over 26 years later, Adel is annually published as a seasoned PhD in computer science from North Carolina State University. He specialized in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and blockchain. Adel is a serial technology entrepreneur who has taken 3 successful technology companies from inception to acquisition. After many years of success in health tech, he sees new opportunities to use his skills and experience in fintech through blockchain and AI to make an impact for good. Through his role as a co-founder and president at AlphaFin, he's on a mission to positively disrupt the fintech ecosystem to empower the global economy. AlphaFin's technology is based on his innovative economic system that uses blockchain, an area he's been working in since before it was a commonly known system. He's shared his extensive knowledge of blockchain and NFTs as a keynote speaker at conferences globally, including Cairo, Dubai, Singapore, throughout Europe, and most recently at a United Nations conference in New York. Adel has published and accomplished many exciting companies and ventures in healthcare, blockchain, NFTs as a master in token economics, including several companies. He also holds a few technology patents. Some of his most exciting new creations include a music NFT platform, NFT gaming platform, a blockchain legal CRM, and his most influential social impact platform that brings blockchain transparency to the world of nonprofit contributions, even helping the Ukrainian government provide food and medical supplies. Academically, Adel supervises about a dozen students at the American University in Cairo and has invested his time and resources into blockchain and AI research, pushing the boundaries of the current cutting edge in his papers. Adel foresees it as changing the future. He currently served on the ICBC 2022 Technical Committee. Although the term blockchain may not be used as much, it will just be much like, we don't call talking over a Zoom call TCP/IP anymore, but that's the technology it uses. Adel sees blockchain technology as enabling the future of fintech and is excited to play a leadership role in the industry, bringing the benefits of blockchain and fintech to the world. Everyone, please make welcome with me, Dr. Adel Elmessiry, who will be giving a talk today on the topic, getting impact to where it should be. Thank you very much, Dr. Adel, for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
You may begin your presentation.
Okay, great. So first of all, I'd love to know background about everybody here, so to kind of like decide whether I need to go deeper into the topics or make it kind of like more advanced. So you have those reactions that you can use for giving a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Yeah. I think let's see how many of you guys understand what a blockchain is. Thumbs up. Okay. So how many know the difference between fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens? I see some people doing thumbs up, thumbs down, and some are just shocked. So maybe kind of like let me start with a quick kind of like setting, so it's not too deep, not too kind of like shallow, but I wanted to kind of like help you see a blockchain from my kind of like eye. So when we started doing Web 1, If you remember Web 1, it was just posted, like it's an HTML billboard. You can put a site up, put just information on it, and that was it. Web 2 brought things like bi-directional communication. So you are able of creating an account, you are able of putting orders, getting feedbacks about those orders, hence unleashed this new .com economy and internet economy. And kind of like when you think about the people that were saying, hey, nobody will buy anything sight unseen. You must go to Sears to touch it and feel it. Well, Sears is dead, long live Amazon. And when you think about people saying, nobody will wait 15 minutes to download a movie online, just go to Blockbuster and get it from there. Blockbuster is dead, and long live Netflix, which means that people that understood the change in the technological playing field and can see what's coming up next were able of taking advantage of that change as it comes, and they were able of thriving in the next economy. Now, people that did not understand how it would work either did not take advantage of it or completely was to their demise. So what's the difference then between Web 2 and Web 3? Well, the only thing that was missing from Web 2 is the financial transactions. So basically, meaning that in order for you to transact on it, you had to go outside of the web into another system, that banking system, credit cards, and so forth, in order for you to execute on the transaction, the financial transaction. But what does that really mean? It's not necessarily the actual money, but it's the assets that you are trying to do, something of value. That was not possible, because if you switch the internet off, you cannot connect to the bank, it's gone. You don't have ownership of it. That is exactly what blockchain brought to the entire ecosystem. It brought a way for us to create value on chain itself, on the internet. And you will ask me, hey, Doc, what's the difference between that and simply taking a picture or issuing you in the database a token? The difference is, in a database, I can wipe it off. I can say like, hey, you don't have anything, I don't owe you. But with blockchain, I can't. Blockchain is immutable and also provides you that ownership, meaning that if I take a picture of $100, I can send that picture to everybody. That's a digital file. If I turn that $100 into an asset, that's a digital asset that I can either send it to one of you, break it into parts, send it to each one $5, but I cannot double spend my money. That's the one other problem that blockchain helped us solve. So for the very first time in human history, we are able of bringing that value in from the physical world into the metaphysical, hence passing through that precipice of how do we transact and operate. Now, you'll ask me like, why that is important? We basically can do the exact same things today. Yes, be it that it is coupled together with amalgam of different systems, but you can do it. I'll tell you, yes, you can. The big difference is that today, by the time when you go to buy something, that purchase goes from your credit card to the processor, to the credit card company to settle in the bank account. Then it goes to the merchant. It's about 6 weeks of time. So the amount of time that is required for the money to settle into the bank account limits how many times that money that the merchant can take out and go buy stuff with can circulate through the economy, which means that if your margin on it has to be big enough for you to only circulate the economy like 5 times a year. Now, take a look at what we have built with blockchain. The settlement is almost immediate, meaning that, depending on the chain, your settlement is in 6 minutes, not 6 weeks. And in some chains, it's 6 seconds. So that means that you could reuse those resources very quickly. You pay the merchant pays another person, and so forth and so on. Margins can go down, and the cycle of money increases very quickly on that. Many other opportunities. That's one thing. The other thing that is also very important is that before web in general, there was no connection between development countries and developed countries. So that meant that you had to go through intermediary. That becomes a bottleneck, B, costs money to go through all of the stuff, and just creates an unfair advantage. However, with the internet coming on, now the farmer in the middle of nowhere in Africa, for example, has a direct connection to the markets. Couple that now with a blockchain system, Web3 system, they can own what they are sending back and forth. So they get paid immediately and they transfer all of the goods immediately. The connection between the producers and the markets will become that much transparent and that much integrated as a system. Hence, we are talking about a frog leap in economical sense. Similar to, if you remember the old days when you had to wait a few months for a phone line, landline to come in, but today you can go literally to the grocery stores in many countries and just get a SIM and get, matter of fact, some countries you land in the airport, they hand you a SIM for free. So you get that automatically very quickly. That is happening in our kind of like a lifetime right now. That leads me to one more quick thing, which is the difference between fungible and non-fungible. Fungible tokens are those tokens created on the blockchain assets, digital assets that are equivalent, meaning that each one of them is equivalent to the other one. If I have $1 beside the serial number on it, it's equivalent to the other dollar. Non-fungible means they are not equivalent. You cannot exchange it for each other. An example of that, I have 2 Picassos. I cannot interchange them. I cannot say like, I give you this one, I give this one, or charge in Picassos. Say, hey, pay me 1.5 Picassos. It does not work like that. So those are the 2 different assets that we are talking about in blockchain. So before I go any further, any questions from the group?
So Pray, do we have any questions in the chat? Does anyone want to ask a question? If you do want to ask a question, you can raise your hand and you'll be asked to unmute. Okay, someone says so far so good. And Arab, you says, can you please explain what exactly would you want Dr. Adel to explain? Okay, so fungible and non-fungible tokens. Okay, someone else says, I missed the difference between fungible and non-fungible tokens.
Right. So the difference between fungible and non-fungible, basically both are tokens, both are digital assets. Both you can mint amount from them, both you can transfer from one place to the other. The biggest difference is that fungible means one token equals any other token from the same kind. So let's say, for example, that you have Bitcoin or Ethereum. Each Bitcoin is similar to the other Bitcoin. Just like each dollar is exactly equivalent to the other dollar. You cannot say this dollar is more expensive than this dollar. That's why we call fungible, meaning you can interchange them, whether you hold that dollar, or this dollar, all of them have the same meaning to them. Fungible, non-fungible tokens, you cannot interchange them. The value for each one is different. It's unique. So although they're coming from the same creator of them, AAK, Picasso versus Rembrandt. So Picasso is an artist, Rembrandt is an artist, but they're different. Their paintings are not interchangeable for one. And for the other, 2 Rembrandts are not interchangeable with each other. So you have one Rembrandt painting, you cannot say, I'm going to exchange it with this other Rembrandt painting because the value is not the same. You have a lot of different things to them. They look different properties on them, and so forth. That's why we call them NFTs. You might have heard that one term, non-fungible tokens.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Adel.
Perfect. So that means that we have now a whole brave new world that's going to change. And in the next few years, you're going to see NFTs, specifically the non-fungible tokens, permeate through our society. An example of that, there is an airline just started issuing all their tickets on NFTs. Why they are issued on NFTs? Because no two tickets are exchangeable with each other. You can't say, hey, I'm going to give you my ticket and you give me your ticket and you fly instead of me. You will not be allowed on board. That's why we are using NFTs for that use case. And then there are a lot of different sports teams that started issues NFTs with a picture of their player on it for a specific match and sell those out to their fans so they can have a stake in their game. That's another use for those NFTs. While fungible tokens, as an example, you might be more familiar with like Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDC, Casper, or others. All of those are kind of like ones that you can use for different purposes. See, the interesting thing about creating those tokens is kind of like the example that we all love. If in a lot of the shops, you have a rewards program. So you go on an airline, you have miles and more. You go Kohl's, you have like Kohl's points. You go like Stop and Shop, Carrefour, whatever, you have their own points. But those points are all used for a discount, and you cannot control them. You cannot say, for example, pool all your points together and go buy something bigger or get a bigger discount and so forth. Because they are just digital representation, they are not digital assets. An implementation of that on blockchain, like for example, Crown Bits, it's a platform that allows you to get rewarded in tokens. That means that now those tokens, you can transfer them, you own them. So if I go shop at Kohl's or Sears or Macy's and accumulated a bunch of points, I can send those to my kids and they can go get a free ice cream, which you could not have done before. So that economy now starts to grow. And if Macy's and Kohl's make an agreement together, now you can actually exchange those and interchange between them. In other words, we are finally able of creating a vehicle representing economical activities that was previously only kept for the monetary system, but transferring that into our commerce and our everyday life. For real examples, all of those are things that actually are working that I'm very familiar with and working through those. Another thing as an example. So I don't know how many of you have studied abroad, but if you try to go from a country to another, your certifications, your education becomes a big nightmare to say like, yes, I am certified in this and this and this. And it is especially so if you're going from a developing country into a developed country. So you would need to go take your certificates to your local authority, to your Ministry of Education, stamp, then go translate those, get them stamped by the embassy into whatever language you are going there. Then you go and stamp it into the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Then you go to that other country and start to do some kind of equivalency and map it to what they have. And after the university stamps it and all of that there, if you are still keeping your mental capabilities and still sane, then and only then you can do the equivalency. Like, oh yeah, you studied biology or studied computer science, which is equivalent to computer science here. Now, they go through those processes. Why? Because of the trust factor. Because we hear a lot about somebody coming and using Photoshop and creating some certificates like, yeah, I'm a PhD. So how do you know that they are a PhD? You don't. You have to go through all those processes, get all of those stamps in order to ensure and assure that the authenticity of that piece of paper. Now, think for a second. What if instead of the paper, we transform those into NFTs? It's the same thing. It's a digital representation of that paper. However, it's an asset, which means the only authority that can issue it on chain is the educational authority, and you can see it and trace it, and then it moves into your wallet. Now you own it. So you prove that you own this because it was sent to your wallet. Hence, you can simply send that to the university. It's like, okay, it's already there. You can check the provenance of the digital certificate, and you get it checked in a matter of minutes. That's it. See, those things that's going to happen is going to help us as humans around the globe of going through our normal daily life much easier, much faster with this, and remove a lot of complications from our lives. And before I go into my other use case that I love, I want to check if you have any other questions.
Currently, no questions in the chat.
Sweet. So next, I want to the big difference between being a practitioner and a theorist is, like you could write a lot of papers like what I'm doing around the actual theory, but how it would work in practice, how can we use all of that stuff in practice? So one of the things that I like to do is to give back, is to think about how can we utilize this new technology to improve and help our lives. So I see one question coming here that says, how will governments collect taxes if everything is tokenized? That's an amazing question. Actually, governments will benefit dramatically from that. Let's take that example. And today, when you are collecting taxation, those are going through POS, and POS is point of sale. So you go to the store, you buy something for $100 and $10 are added as taxes. The store collects that right there and then depending on the policy in every country, maybe monthly, quarterly, yearly, they send the money to the government, right? So a transaction happened in the store, the money is collected and sent to the government. And that opens up lots of issues, like, for example, how do you verify that the store sends it to the government? Well, we do not. So then we have to send inspectors that will inspect that. You have to file the taxes. You have to file this. And we have to cross-reference. So much wasted time, so much added cost. Who pays for that cost? The taxpayers, the people, everybody. Now, step with me into the future, where the token that you create, since you are creating the token using something called smart contracts, which is a construct on the chain. In the smart contract, you can actually specify that when you spend the token, you can collect per transaction, whether a percentage of that spend or a transaction fee, regardless of the spend, and immediately send it to the government momentarily. Meaning that you go to the store and you scan your phone to pay for this item, $100, $10 immediately move from the transaction to the wallet for the government right away. No complication, no people have to come in and check, because trust built into the network. And best thing of all is the government can increase their tax revenues without increasing the tax. So without saying, hey, we'll charge you more. It's just basically you're getting the taxes faster. You can implement them faster. That's the shift in mentality. And
okay, another question here.
Right. So I'll answer the one at the end first before I jump to the one in the middle. So that means the government to resort to purchases and services tax, not necessary. So remember, taxes per transaction, right? Today, taxation is happening either VAT, value-added tax, or through your income tax, right? So they are all based on a transaction, meaning that you cannot be sitting at home doing absolutely nothing and you pay a tax to just be alive. That does not happen, at least what I'm familiar with. You might know something different. But that means on the transaction point of view, the government can collect the tax on the blockchain similarly. So when you get paid because you are being paid from an employer, that transaction is a payment the system automatically computes not only the tax, but also how much did you pay. So if you have brackets, like say the first $1,000 or $10,000, you don't pay any taxes. So those go in free. As soon as you start getting the 11,000, that's 10%, and then it goes to 15% afterwards, all automatic on payments, on your salaries, not on just purchases, if you are being paid online with the chain. So then I'll go to the question in the middle, which is in that case, you described have to be a computer programmer to create an NFT or a token, right? So that's a really good question. So for how do you create the token? Now, you could basically go down and write the token itself, not a problem. However, there are tools right now allowing you of issuing the token on an interface. You go on an interface, issue the token, write the parameters around this token, bam, you are done. Not only that, but on sites like the site that I'm going to show you, you can go mint your NFT by just doing a couple clicks. That's it. So you don't have to do anything at all on it to know about the chain. It's kind of like asking the same question. Do I need to know what's TCP/IP or the internet stack, 7 layers of them, in order for me to use Zoom? No. You use Zoom on top of all of this layer. That's the technology that has been added to it. So then the question for how would the musical artist either benefit or be a key player in, as per the use of fungible NFTs, right? So for that part, in the music, there are several ways that you can do this. There's a project called Audius that creates tokens. There's a project that I'm involved with called Paybeats that also does it differently. But you can either create your albums in an NFT, you can create fan NFTs for the artist. You can collect all of them. I want you to think for a second in the when you were growing up. When you were growing up, how did you interact with music? You went to the shop, you bought a cassette tape with a cover on it, right? That's exactly what we have transferred in the music industry. You're gonna buy an NFT, that's the cassette cover. And it enables you of hearing the music because it's online, right? The underlying mechanics called tokenomics. So that's how would they be rewarded out of that. For example, here in the US, we have royalties that are governed by different entities for where the royalties will go, the music label, the artist, the writer, all of that stuff. That entire thing will be transformed into the smart contract that allows us to collect those and distribute it very quickly. So that's for the music part. For the smart contract susceptible to regulatory agencies oversight, what's their applicability in China, for instance? So China is a different question. I'm going to answer the first part. Smart contract can be either transparent. You can see them transparently, like read what the smart contract has, or they can be closed, that you don't see what's going on in them. Of course, if they are transparent and open, people are more likely to actually interact with them. If they are closed, people cannot, sometimes will not trust them. Is it susceptible into the regulatory oversight, depending on the jurisdiction and what regulations are there? They must, of course, apply towards those. Blockchain is not a way to circumvent regulation and regulatory framework. It's a way to improve the speed, just kind of like, the internet. So years ago, if we needed to do this call together, we would have had to pay an exorbitant amount of money to set up cameras all over the place and then get the telecom companies to connect all of those videos and a mixer and all of that stuff. And the calls would be an international call costing all of that stuff. How much did you guys pay for this Zoom? I paid $20. I'm just kidding. So basically, It's free. How does that mean that we've circumvented the jurisdiction? No, it meant that we've used technology to benefit us. Telecom companies became internet providers. They benefit from internet subscriptions for everybody. It's a different model, making the pie bigger, making the ability for us to produce much higher, much faster. So that's how we are able of using the technology to increase the velocity of money in an economy. And yes, if anybody creates their token and becomes very famous and rich, please remember me and send some my way. So more questions. Come on, guys. You are an easy audience. I need more. All right, cool. So if there are no more questions, I am thinking of showing you an example of like how do we deal with those. So it's not only kind of like explaining how do we build it, but we need an actual practice. And that's my message to you. So as you are knowing about this revolution that's coming in, there is no excuse not to be part of it. So if you wanted to build and have upwards mobility, previously you had to build like a shop and franchise and all that stuff takes time, money, effort, a lot of it. But then the internet came, much easier. Now Web3 came, blockchain, it's super easy for you. There is nothing preventing every and each one of you to come into the space and benefit from it. Whether it is by programming in it, hardcore, or by creating a new service, or by becoming an expert and talking to other people about it, or by just participating, because there are opportunities in the space that are not offered by others, including using it for good. So that's the actual title of what I wanted to start on. So basically, how do we get impact to where it should? So that's my passion. So what I want to share with you here is a quick presentation. So everybody can see it. I'm gonna. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Is it presenting something or it's all dark?
It's dark at the moment with just your cursor. Yeah, it's visible now.
I don't know why it's not going into slideshow mode. Okay, I'm just gonna.
Dr. Adel, is it possible that you share the slides with us at the end of this session?
Absolutely. So, so I'm just gonna use it this way, and then I'll share it with you at the end of the session.
Thank you very much.
So basically, yes, finally. So, as you mentioned earlier, one of like my company is called AlphaFin. It's a financial evolution technology. It's a Draper Gorenholm company, and the platform that I want to share with you about here is how I'm using blockchain and NFTs for good. The global philanthropy ecosystem is roughly $600 billion annually today, and it's going to be about $1 trillion by the end of the decade. There are 3 different entities that are in the philanthropic ecosystem. One is the donor, that is the person that makes all of this possible, that sends money to everybody. And then the beneficiaries, those are the organizations that receive the money from the donor and then distribute that to the actual recipients, like NGOs, charities, 501c. Then there are the recipients, the end recipients. Like, for example, if we want to feed the children, who buys the food, who cooks the food, and who delivers the food to the children. All of those are being paid by the beneficiary, oversight of the beneficiary, who are the custodian of the money for the donors. But that ecosystem has a lot of issues. First, lack of transparency. How do you know where your money is going? You don't. And it's a siloed solution for a global problem. I want to feed the children in Africa, but I'm in the US. So I have to go through an organization in the US. I can't send money directly to an local organization. And even if I try to send the money, it will take a week to come and $45. So it takes a lot of fees for doing that. And there is no incentives for the donor beyond what we all know for thousands of years, that you feel good. And no Web3 strategy. And then the biggest thing on top of that would be, all right, how do I know, like if you go to a website that says, hey, I am helping the children of Ghana. How do you know that I'm actually going to help the children of Ghana? You don't. So you have to trust me somehow. Remember the word trust, because blockchain is a trustless network, meaning the trust is built into the transaction. So how do we solve that? The solution is verified impact NFTs. So what does that mean? So basically, I took the NFT smart contract that we've talking about, smart contract for the NFT that helps create that, and I have embedded the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. There are 17 of them, plus all and none. That means that every NFT that gets created must serve a purpose. So those NFTs have a purpose that they serve every and each one of them. But the start is not with the NFTs. The start is with the beneficiary, meaning that the beneficiary comes along and they are KYB. So they send their governmental issued documents for the platform to get approved to be put into the platform. That by itself eliminates the fraud, meaning that we know who you are and that you have a license to collect the donations for different people. So we can onboard you on the platform. And then the beneficiary creates the campaign. So the beneficiary can come and say like, hey, I am the Kids of Ghana organization, and I want to create a campaign to feed the kids of Ghana. So then you create that campaign and say, here's my goal. And you as a beneficiary can say how much you want to incentivize artists with. Why? Because then you are going to bring artists that will create NFTs for you. So the artists come in and they see that, okay, I really want to support that project. I love kids. I love to help with getting them food or other aspects. And then you would come in, you would create your NFTs, donate them to the campaign for the beneficiary. That means that the donor now can come in, can filter by the SDGs and say, okay, I want to access for food, like elimination of hunger, which is the one on the top here, this one. And they basically find the feed the children of Ghana campaign, and then they browse through the artwork. They find an artist that they like. Maybe she's a upcoming artist in Germany. So I like her work. I'll buy an NFT. When the NFT is bought, the money goes to the beneficiary, and the NFT goes to the donor. The money that goes to the beneficiary, then portion of it is used to incentivize the creator, and everybody in the loop is happy. So what we've done is we put the beneficiary at the driver's seat. They drive the entire process. They control everything. And because we KYB them, we know that they are an official beneficiary. And then the creator focuses only on creating the art and supporting purposes that they like. And that allows them to focus on their art. However, the donor becomes one of the most benefited person, because they now can basically deploy their funds where they want. They can look at the different SDGs And for the very first time in history, they actually get a digital asset as a receipt. So what does that mean? It means that beside their tax write-off, they can actually get an NFT, and that digital asset, years in the future, when maybe that artist becomes famous, that digital asset may appreciate in value. So at that point in time, you will be able of doing good and doing well at the same time with it. Best thing about it, that if you decide to sell your NFT that you got for the donation, the same royalties apply to that sale. So years down the road, you sold it, portion of it goes to the same beneficiary, and they can benefit from it. Perpetual good, forever. That's the goal of creating a system like that on blockchain. Now, first campaign was done for on the behalf of the Ukrainian Ministry of Digital Transformation back in August. And recent campaigns include Turkish earthquake victim campaign. It's generative NFT. This is how the artwork is mapped, and then they pulled together like this. This is from the site. And you can see that here are the SDGs, and there are Twitter around every and each place. So say everybody on this call, if you go to verifiedimpactnfts.com, you might not have a wallet, you might not even want to buy it, but you can click on the Twitter, on the ones that you like, and it will open up a tweet for you and tweet about it right away. So you can do something, no excuse. Another campaign is the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation. So we've created generative NFTs for them. The campaign was done at the end of March, and the NFTs already selling, and they are getting funds directly to them. We also are building an impact score history. So this way is kind of like similar to your credit history that shows how good your beneficiary. So how impactful. Okay, we sent you money to actually help feed the kids. What did you do? So each beneficiary reports on what they have done. They can report. So they can say like, hey, we fed 10 children today, we fed 20 children today. The more reports, the more people can read about it, the more the score is higher, and also there will be a community rating on it. And remember that link that I talked about earlier? We've created an impact NFT viewer, meaning you can take that code embedded on your website. So for example, my company wants to support the children of Ghana. I went and bought few NFTs for that. How do I communicate to my customers that here is what I'm doing, here is all the good that I'm doing? So in order to do that, we have a link automatically generated. I can take it, put it on the site, and within minutes, now all my customers can come in and say like, wow, I see what you are doing and I really love it. So there is a bi-direction. My customers say like, hey, how about helping the children of Egypt next? So then we go and find something there and we start buying it. So it helps with sustainability, social goods, focused enterprises. We have a growing list of beneficiaries going through, and we have a growing list of artists coming on board. So at the end of this discussion kind of thing, what I wanted to tell you is to show you with an example of something that I personally designed and helped build, is that you have the power, that blockchain is not about simply trading tokens or doing stuff like that. It's about a whole new paradigm. It's going to shift the entire globe to a place that may be much better than where we are today. Okay, so questions?
There's a question here from Isaac and says, are there any firms doing impact investing with this model?
So impact investing. So my companies are doing that. So I begin with mines as well that are doing it that way. And then we're talking with how do we get impact donor directed funds to actually participate on the platform. If you know companies that are interested in deploying that way, if you know charities, that's another thing that you could do. Bring them on. I'm always available. You have my emails, you have the website, LinkedIn, and so forth. So go visit the site, go click on Twitter, there, tweet about your favorite campaign, tweet about your favorite NFT, bring your charity, say like, hey, I have this charity, let's bring him on, let's collect some money for them and help. In other words, don't just sit there, it's like, oh, it's amazing. Do something because you can. That's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Adel. I think this is an amazing project and really worth exploring. I think you're doing an amazing and truly impactful work using the blockchain technology. So everyone, do you have questions? Do you have more questions for Dr. Adel? So I'd like to ask, before anyone else asks, I'd like to ask, what's the process to get a creator to create an NFT?
On our site, it's a very simple process. You just come in, sign up, and you are able of creating those NFTs right away. So let me share. So this is my development site. So it's not the main one. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller because there are content that is still in development. So here, going to share this desktop. So you guys can see the entire desktop, right?
Yeah.
So here on the development side, you don't need even to have a wallet or something like that. Now, if you have a wallet, that would be great. But you can come in and can click on Gmail or Facebook or Twitter and simply sign in using your email. When you do so, it will create a wallet for you in the back end. So see, now I'm logged in, I have a wallet, I have an email. How much do you need to know about blockchain? Absolutely nothing. Now, you can pick from here, are you just a user, creator, or beneficiary? If you are a creator, you just come here, click on creator user. So the top bar changed. Now you can have my collections. You can click on either my collections to create collections, or you can go to edit to your profile and manage your collections and create your collection from here directly with just simple clicks to upload your NFT. Like, for example, just like here, see this upload, you create an NFT and you are on your way.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Adel. Do we have any other questions? Okay, so I do have another question, and I'd like for you, Dr. Adel, to kindly say something about DeFi and Metaverse. What are your perspectives on these two?
Okay, so first, if you are an artist and you want to help with campaigns on the site, please join or hit me up. I'll help you set up your collection and start working there. AAK, you can actually make money helping different charities. For DeFi that you've mentioned now, how many people know what DeFi is? Show of hands. Sweet. So So we have DeFi versus CeFi. So CeFi is centralized finance, meaning it's a bank, it's an entity, something like that. DeFi means it's decentralized finance. So what is meant by DeFi is we created basically assets, and then we are able of creating ways to interact and trade on those assets. For example, if I want to exchange money, so if you go, did you post my socials? Like I'll post my LinkedIn here and my Twitter. My Twitter is @Adel Elmessiry.
Yeah, I'm going to post it now.
So then
Okay.
basically when you go for the today when you travel, you go to the airport, there is an exchange over there and you give him money and get another money. So that is an exchange between, say, for example, dollars and euros, and you pay a fee on doing that. So the rudimentary entry point of DeFi is that exchange, swapping. One of the biggest famous one is called Uniswap, because they were the very first one that were able of creating how that would work. Now, the details are lots of details. So if you guys are interested, we can create another session to go specifically in what is a swap, how do you trade, how do you do all of the stuff from a technical point of view, and go through it one step at a time. But the gist of it, you are able to go and say like, hey, I have one token and I want to swap it with a different token. When that happens, you pay a fee on the back end of the swap. The fee usually is 0.3% or less. So that fee, who collects it? The swapping that happens, right? But in the normal process, there is a bank or the shop that does the exchange, or somebody changes money for you, right? That person is getting that money. In the decentralized world, it's much more fascinating. Why? Because normal exchange would means that you would have to have enough money from both sides. So you'd have to have $1 million, €1 million to exchange. If you have only 1,000 and 1,000, you do very few exchanges, and that's it. So in order to do more exchanges, you will have to go get your investors or friends and family to come here. It's like, give me your money, pool it together. The word pool it together, meaning put it in one big pool. Decentralized finance swaps like Uniswap or SushiSwap, SafeMoon, allow you to come in and participate in that pool. Put your own money, put some dollars, put some euros. So I put 100, you put 100, everybody puts 100. Then we basically have 1 million put in the system, which makes the trading very stable. And that's 0.3% that I just mentioned. That one is divided on all the people participating in the pool. So the question becomes, how do you know how much do you get out of that? Well, remember when you talked about pooling it together? So say that a lot of people in the pool, 100 of them, and they paid the exact same amount. That 0.3% is divided equally between all of them. What if there is one that put half of the pool? Well, that person gets 50% of every 0.3% that goes from every transaction. So that means that if you participate in a pool and put the tokens on both sides, you can relax, sip your latte, and as long as that pool is operating, you are making an income proportional to your size of that pool. 24/7. Does it work by night? Yes. Does it work on the weekend? Yes. Does it work on vacations? Blockchain does not take vacations. Blockchain is 24/7 in the system. Does it have risk? Yes. And that's another issue to talk about, the risk aspect of it. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Yeah, but I'd like you to say something on the metaverse as well.
Right.
What are your takes, your perspectives?
So the metaverse, that is a really interesting piece. Why it is interesting? So how many of us played games? Show of hands. None? You're all serious people? I'm surprised. Perfect. So we all grew up playing games. We all loved to be in that universe with the game where you can have alternate personality, you can do other things around there in the universe. The word metaverse is kind of like multiple verse. Verse is a universe, basically, of it. And the reason that we say metaverse is it goes from the physical into the metaphysical. So now you are creating a whole universe. Remember that whole universe, if you pull the plug, like if you play Fortnite or Call of Duty or Halo, my favorite game. So as soon as you switch it off, everything that you've done is gone. But with the blockchain, everything that you've done in it, you can own. So you can own your character, you can own, you have an awesome vehicle created, you can own that. If you're doing racing, if you are doing a roadblock, you create something, then you can actually own all of that and keep it with you and use it in other games. That's the start of the metaverse. So that's why big companies are moving into that space to the extent that Facebook changed their name into Meta. Why? Because they are seeing the writing on the wall. They are seeing that we are all moving there. We all interact on social media. Why we prefer social media to going to the coffee shop and talking with people? Because it's easier and you can be different on social media. You can talk with different people. You can have a much bigger reach. You can be talking with somebody in France while you are sitting in the US and Australia and so forth. Imagine a whole new world that transcends the current one with capabilities that you can interact with people, do actual economical things, sell, buy, purchase, build, develop, rent places for people have admission into what you build into your system. All of those create totally new economical experience for us as a human race. That's what's happening with the metaverse next. And it is all going to be built on NFTs and blockchain.
Thank you. I like your explanation. It was very clear. Thank you so much, Dr. Adel. So everyone, do you have any questions? You can put it in the chat. You can also reach out to Dr. Adel via LinkedIn. I have dropped the link in the chat as well as the handles. Please, you're very free to reach out to Dr. Adel. So if there are no questions, I'd like to very specially thank you, Dr. Adel, for this very brilliant presentation and coming to spend your time with us today, impacting our unit masters students. Okay, so there's a chat here I'd like to quickly read and see. Okay. Stephen, feel free to reach out to Dr. Adel. The link is in the chat. So once more, thank you very much. We'll definitely be keeping in touch with you and hopefully have you back for the Uniswap presentation. And so that's it for today. Everyone, thank you for keeping it engaged. Thank you. We hope you have learned a lot. Please share your key learnings. And as you share your key learnings, feel free to tag Dr. Adel, tag Unit Network, and use our official hashtag, Unit Masters. So on this note, I say goodbye, everyone. Bye.